explain like I'm 30.
Hey everyone, welcome to Explain Like I'm 30. I'm your host, Sidney Raskind, aka Sidney Raz, all over the internet, the life hacks guy, the guy telling you things you wish you knew before you're in your 30s. Thank you so much for listening. Today on the show, we have Keeley Shoup, a professional cuddler. That is right. You heard that right. A professional cuddler. But before we get into that, I need to talk to you about a new thing that I'm trying, and it's called working out. I don't know if anyone's ever tried this before, but every single day, 5 times a week, relax me. 5 times a week, I have to exercise. And 30 minutes a day, just go for it. And let me tell you, it is not as easy as it sounds. I don't know if anyone ever knew this or anyone ever talks about this, but exercising feels bad sometimes and it's not fun. And I've been doing it for a while and I don't know if I'm getting as jacked as I want to be, but people keep saying, keep doing it and you'll feel better about yourself. I cut back on drinking a little bit, so I guess that's good too. As much as I hate to say it, drinking's bad for you. So, do things that are nice for yourself and exercise, maybe cut back on something that you know is bad for you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I am going to tell you that you can feel good about yourself if you cuddle. And that goes into exactly who our guest is today. Keeley Shoup, professional cuddler, Cuddle Therapist, boundaries and consent educator, CEO of Cuddlist. That's right, Cuddlist. She has a shirt that says Cuddlist on it. It's fantastic. And the president of the board of directors for Cuddle Party. We talked about so many amazing things. We talked about what goes into the life of being a cuddler, what goes into asking someone to come over or to virtually cuddle, right? Like that's a thing that you can do. The barriers that you break down, the vulnerability that goes into it. I mean, so many beautiful, amazing things. I just got done talking with her and I got to tell you, I feel really good. I feel really happy. I feel nice and relaxed and also just like proud of myself for some reason. So let's just get into it. I'm really excited for you all to listen to this episode. We have so many more amazing guests coming on this show. Professional cuddler, Keeley Shoup. Enjoy. Keeley, I wanted to let you know that you are my first podcast guest ever. And I had
You're doing great already.
Well, thank you so much. I have to tell you that your background is truly fantastic. It is the most beautiful, like cuddly atmosphere I have ever seen. And I'm wondering,
brand appropriate is what you're saying?
It's very brand appropriate. I'm wondering if when you, because I looked online and I was wondering are you, since you take so many clients over like video online, this is the first thing that they see, and this is the first thing that you want them to see, so that they know that you are cuddly. Mm-hmm. Right? So
environment sets a really important tone, whether it's in person or virtual. Yeah. That's
absolutely incredible. I'm so excited that I get to ask you these questions. This is one of those things that I'm so excited about this podcast because I basically am really just trying to understand the ins and outs of people that do things that I've never even heard of and I've never even thought about. To be a professional cuddler is incredible.
Thank you. I agree.
All right, well, let's get into it. I know we may have been keeping this in a little bit, but Keeley Shoup, everybody, thank you for being with us. So you are a professional cuddler.
Yes, I am a cuddle therapist. Mm-hmm.
A cuddle therapist. And again, I was looking online before this interview, and there are a lot of certifications that go into it. There's a lot of training and hours that go into it. People have over 4,000 hours of cuddling professionally. I mean, is that in real life, or is that just, is that over? Do you have to practice with your stuffed, friends behind you first and prove that you have certain cuddling techniques, or what is 4,000 hours of cuddling? Please. What is that?
Well, to give you a picture, that doesn't seem like too much because I've been doing this for over 7 years. And so just for one, I want to rewind a tiny bit because you mentioned there's all kinds of certifications that go into it. And one of the beautiful things about this industry, and it's a thing to be mindful of as well, is that all of the certifications are elective. And so whenever someone is, and there's some industry distinction a little bit between professional cuddler and cuddle therapist, typically just approaches, and degree of training as well. But, it's really customizable to not only the clients, if they're looking for specific kinds of care or kinds of support or just a specific kind of experience, and for the practitioner. If a practitioner is really interested in a certain path of education, they really are empowered to take it. So there's all kinds of certifications. I just hoard them. Personally, I hoard certifications because I love it. So you'll definitely see a lot on my phone.
Yeah, I mean, it was so amazing when we actually got to talk to you and got into this, like, oh my God, we're going to interview a professional cuddler, and you keep on saying cuddle therapist, and you keep on saying cuddle blank. Now, what do you prefer as an industry standard job to be called? Like, because I don't want to call you like cuddle master or like the cuddlist. I just want to make sure that I say it right. It does. Okay.
D all of the above. I don't think
the most cuddly person I've ever talked to.
Great. Done. Check. I'm into it. I will not be offended by any of the options that you presented. They have different connotations in my experience, but you mentioned this industry is kind of new. It's unfamiliar, for sure.
Yeah.
And so, the being a very stickler on language when people are so uncertain about the language anyway seems a little futile. So I don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because I feel like you wouldn't be able to be cuddler if you weren't cuddly. So that kind of like allows people to say things and like just like do, I don't know, not quote do things, but like you have to create a safe environment that allows cuddling, because that barrier, I mean, at least I know from me, it takes a little bit to like cuddle someone. So how do you break those barriers down? That's incredible. You just open up and you just...
I love this question so much. I want to take a pause just to be grateful for you for asking it, because you have touched on immediately the thing that makes this different. The thing that makes this a profession, all those certifications, it's not like, do this pose and your arm goes here. Right. Like, that's not really the majority of any of the certifications. What is the skill in this is exactly what you're talking about. It's creating a space for relative strangers to feel comfortable enough to not only just like touch another person, but have the emotional intimacy of cuddling and receiving that, so that at the end of it, they feel blissful.
Yeah. That
takes a lot. Part of it takes, there's some buzzwords that I love throwing out, and hopefully they'll resonate. Let me know if I should explain more. There's a thing called unconditional positive regard. And that means anyone who shows up as a client after the vetting process, etc., I am going to always look at you from the best possible lens. I'm going to recognize all of your humanity. I'm going to honor all of the parts of you, good, bad, indifferent, silly, strict. All of the parts of you are welcome. Every facet of your personality is valuable.
That is incredible. You have to, because that in itself takes a lot of self-healing, I feel, right? Like that takes a lot of like understanding of self that most people, unless you're in an intimate relationship, and even if you are in an intimate relationship, can't really get into. Like that's the core of cuddling. I mean, that's crazy. That's like, so to me, when I was looking over the website, I was like, I would like to cuddle these people. They seem nice. And I was like, gosh, like even just like the, I guess the show on a website has to be like, no, this is okay. Like you're going to be safe. You're going to be secure here, because I'm sure that you get a lot of people that like deal with some pretty big shit. Like that's a big deal. And I don't know. I think as stepping back for a second, as a person that comes from a family of CPTSD and PTSD and stuff, I definitely just want to thank you for being a cuddler, because that's really nice. Like, that's like one of the nicest things that someone could do. Like, if I could go back and be like, hey, there's going to be a person that you could just like cuddle and cry. If you do, that's fine. I would that right. Like that's what I thought. I was like, because the minute that you break down those walls, I'm crying. Like I'm gonna cry. Like how often you said it's common. So yeah, it has to be like with every client you have. And like since it's like therapy, I'm sure you see these people like consistently, right?
The cool thing is that the answer to that is oftentimes yes, but there's such a broad type of folks who come to get the service. It can be from someone wanting just a novel new experience. Like, how cool is that? I want to cuddle and I love the sensation of that. Like, that's a really fun experience for me. I know I love that in my life, and let's try it with this person. Some people are that comfortable, and it's beautiful and remarkable when you come across them. And other folks, there have been a series of several sessions over months where we didn't touch at all until we worked through, built trust. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
So
that's, and the very first touch was like the ET phone home moment.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, and so, that was a breakthrough.
That's incredible. It's just so, and I guess that kind of goes to another question that I have, which is there, I guess like typical therapy training before you get to cuddle therapy, right? So do you go through those things, or do you have an understanding of that before it's like, oh, like I understand, like if there's trauma that you maybe don't want to cuddle or whatever, that kind of thing?
Some professionals do, some professionals don't. Some certifications cover a little bit of the basics of what I'm interpreting to be trauma-informed care. Some certifications do a good job of covering the basics of that, and some don't. One thing it feels important to just make clear is that cuddle therapy, professional cuddling, etc., is an unregulated industry.
Sure.
Which differs from traditional psychotherapy, right? Like there is a state-governed like bureaucratic process. There's licensure issued by the state. There is a board that you have to apply to, and there's some standards there that are governed by an existing like an outside body. Right. With cuddle therapy, each individual certification program has its own standards. They're, as someone who's taken every single one of them, they're similar, but there's some variability there. And so the thing I like to say is it's a really great idea for you to be a savvy consumer, and don't just like, okay, I found someone, here's their picture, sign up. Like, go through a consultation process. Do they even have a consultation process? So be a savvy consumer in who you're vetting for this service, because you're touching on some really important things that it can be really vulnerable. It can be really powerful. But yeah.
That's absolutely. And I guess I think the powerful aspect of it is really what intrigues me, just because of that wall breaking down. But I mean, and I think we've touched on it a lot. And just like, could you maybe like, I don't know. So you don't start as a cuddle therapist, right? Do you start as like a cuddle apprentice? Like how do you get to where you are now with so many hours in certifications?
Is that how did I get to where I am now? Or is that how does one, if they're interested in this work?
How did you become the cuddliest?
The cuddly. I love this. Keep that coming. I love that. I want to say a quick story, and that is when I told my family that I was going to do this professionally, this was going to be my full-time job, I was leaving my corporate position to do this.
Sure.
They had some questions. Yep. And after they exhausted all their questions, the first thing they said was, oh, you've been doing this since you were 5.
Oh, sure.
So how I came to this was very much a bringing out of all the things that already existed in me, and just realizing, okay, actually, no, that's valuable. People want that. that's a service that you can provide, just who you are in the world.
Yeah.
So that was a cool affirmation. But I came across an event called Cuddle Party. There's a non-for-profit organization called Cuddle Party Inc. And it runs these events that are boundaries and consent workshops that are kind of couched in the availability of cuddling folks.
Sure.
But the whole first hour to hour and a half is a class on how do you relate to people? How it's a comprehensive class on consent. And it was the first time I'd ever had any kind of education like that. And it broadened my whole world.
I mean, how many people were there? Was the end of the session cuddling, or was the end of the session like, now we know about consent and now we know how to like go into a room and cuddle people?
It's a 4-hour long event.
Whoa, that's a whole day.
So yeah.
Wow.
So the first hour to, like I said, hour and a half, depending, is the workshop part.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing and participating in this standardized workshop. And then the last 2 to 3 hours are what we call free range cuddling, meaning you can use.
Love that. I love that you can just walk around and cuddle whatever you want. Just cuddle.
Well, but you have to use all the skills that you just learned. And the facilitator is there helping folks if they get stuck or if they, need any assistance or need some support. The facilitator is there to help this environment feel really good and cozy and wonderful and comfortable. And like I said, it's 4 hours. And most people who hear that are like, the what?
Yeah.
That is too much. How dare?
It's just a one session though, right? So it's like that 4-hour session. And then at the end of it, you have a greater understanding of cuddling with 100 of your closest friends. Great. Yeah.
Typically the ones that I've attended are around 20 to 30 folks.
Oh, okay. So it's like much, is it in like a big open room? Like, do you have a lot of space to like, is it in like a multi-purpose?
Yeah, if it was easy to turn my camera, I would show you where I host them.
There you go.
But yeah, you would typically feature a nice big room, lots of really cushy pads and mattresses on the floor that are spread out. There's cushy chairs. Typically, there's like a snack table off to the corner.
Right.
There's a spot where people can sit and chat if they don't want to, be cuddling. There's typically an extra room that's just kind of a quiet room if you need a little space or if you need a little time by yourself, because while the environment is typically very jovial, it's very lighthearted. You've got a bunch of adults in pajamas, right? Like this is not, this is not a serious moment, right? But it has serious moments for people, and it can bring up a lot of really powerful emotions.
So you have to be as comfortable as possible when you cuddle as well. You're in pajamas.
I recommend it.
Yeah, well, sure. But like sometimes I cuddle and I'm not in the most comfortable clothes. But as a professional cuddler, is your uniform just cozy? Are you just walking around in PJs all day?
Listen, friend, I write off onesies as a tax write-off.
Yes.
They are my uniform.
Yes. That is an expense.
Literally. I have a panda
onesies.
Kigu and I write it off.
Sure. Absolutely. No, that makes total sense. I mean, and I guess that goes into like, so let's say let's say I want to ask for a cuddle session. Is that like what, like, and then I do that, and then like, do you have like a back-to-back schedule of cuddles all day, or is it like what is that? What does that feel like? Like how busy are you every day? Are you just like constantly cuddling? That is the nicest thing I've ever said. Oh my gosh.
It depends on the day. But I have some boundaries for myself just because like I get to choose how often and how much and whatnot. And interestingly enough, what I have found is that I can have 5 hours or 4 people per day, whichever comes first. So say 2 people book, is it 6 hours, not 5, 6 hours or 4 people. So say 2 people book 3-hour sessions, I'm seeing 2 people that day.
Wow.
Because that's about my capacity. If 4 folks book 1-hour sessions, then I'm not going to see anymore.
Wow. Okay. So you have a lot of control over your own cuddling. which is nice.
And that's really important and really key. This is not remotely an industry where the customer is always right. This is a relational kind of caregiving and kind of support. So, and you mentioned it earlier, my needs, my inner work, my personal processing is a part of the skill set that I bring, and who I am is part of the value that I'm bringing to the sessions. People, if they just wanted to cuddle a mannequin, they can buy like a heated body pillow, right? They can, or they could buy, it's the person, it's the emotional intimacy that really kind of makes it so powerful.
I mean, that to me, that's just the thing. Now that we're talking about that, it sort of reminds me of like, you know, you must be drained, right? Emotionally, physically, after cuddling 4 people a day or like for 6 hours. You're not?
No, that's my limit, because that's where I stop and I'm still completely thrilled and happy. I can push past that. And then if I do quite a bit past those levels, then I'm a little tired. But when I told you earlier that this is what I was always meant to do, I do not have a cuddle capacity. Like, I don't have a limit. It's just how I was built as a human being. It's weird. For others, it is perfectly normal for me.
Wow. So you're just you're just a battery of cuddles.
For the most part,
you're just an energized, you just constantly cuddle people, and you would still be fine with that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what that's like. I definitely have a capacity for too much cuddling. I definitely think
Which is now called capaddle. We've just done it.
Yeah,
period.
it's capaddle, right.
It's your capaddle, right.
It's my capaddle. But I don't think that I would ever know what that is, because I know that like what my own sort of neuroses would be like, I think we're cuddling too long, or it leads to other things. So I don't, like, for me, it's always been a very intimate relationship. So I always like kind of either, okay, I have to go eat dinner now, or okay, we're done, let's watch TV or whatever. But you're just saying that you can just cuddle forever. That's
I mean,
nuts.
You're gonna take breaks because you need water and you need
right. You need to go to the bathroom. You need to
right.
Exactly.
It's not like you're chained to any like place and can't move. And your arm's not asleep for hours on end, right? Right. But I really don't have. It is an extremely rare event. It does happen, but it is an extremely rare event that I'm just like, I can't anymore. And typically that moment isn't caused from the too much cuddling. It's caused from other sensory overload, like the lights in a room or sound. I am ADHD and autistic. And so sensory input is really intense for me. So that's normally what taps me out.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I feel like with autism and, you know, being on that spectrum, you would sort of reach a capacity for sensory overload, right? Like that's sort of like something that I mean, I would think that kind of would be the first trigger of like, cuddle, stop. Like, that's not, I don't know if that's something
cuddling helps it. Cuddling increases my capacity.
Wow.
Cuddling calms down my nervous system. It feeds me so that I can navigate the world better. Yeah.
I mean, so, and I guess, do you like cuddling after cuddling? Like, do you like if do you want to be cuddled, or do you only want to cuddle? Is that
in session? So in session, it's a clear container, right? The folks that I'm cuddling with, we can do both, but it's directed and it's client driven, right? The purpose of the session is for the ultimate well-being of the client. Right. And so in that, we're still both present. I'm still bringing 100% of myself. We just have a clear idea who it's for. And I get to enjoy all of that. I get to participate in all of that. And it's wonderful. Yeah. When I'm not in session, then both. Yes. And I love being cuddled. I love doing the cuddling. Directionality is like, yes.
Does it ever affect like any relationships that you have? Like, you're too good at cuddling? Like, is your significant other like, oh, you're not, like, we can't cuddle because you're so good at it? Is that a thing? I feel like I wouldn't have that problem if you were my significant other. It was just like, no.
It's like, you can't be that good at cooking and feeding me wonderful meals. Like, stop this, Michelin star kind of treatment here. I can't handle it. It's like, no, they're just gonna enjoy it.
Sure. So, does it affect relationships that you have that you're so good at cuddling, or you're cuddling so many people, or is it like
Positively?
Positively,
It certainly impacts them.
Oh
it impacts
my
them
gosh,
positively.
That's incredible. I'm so happy that it's not negative. I'm so happy that you could equate cuddling to Michelin star service, because it is such a basic need. It's like such a thing. Like, if that's incredible that you're just like you're going on, like, if you go on a date, is the first thing you say, by the way, I'm a professional cuddler? Is that like what happens?
I actually try. I leave that off a little bit if I go on a date.
Okay.
Because it whenever I say that, it tends to dominate a conversation, and that's not just on dates.
Right. It would be like
just
a podcast
because it's very
interview.
Novel.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And so oftentimes, if I'm not trying to steal the show or take it, like, grab attention, then I'll like, I'm a care provider, or I'm a service professional, or something like that. Like, I'll not give specifics unless they're asked, or I'll just be directing the conversation and asking the other person interested questions, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of times people are really curious about it, which makes total sense.
Yeah.
But I might not always want to talk about work.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I'm sure you have other interests besides cuddling.
It's the top, though.
It is the top. I see you have fantastic nails.
Sure.
So for anyone at home listening, she has fantastic nails. Just perfect for cuddling, in my opinion. I just got to say that right off the bat.
Another business expense.
Like, that's incredible. I was just looking at them. I was like, oh my gosh, that must be one of the best parts.
Imagine a head scratch with these.
I'm sorry. I can't, because that's too perfect. That's too perfect. Is that like the ultimate? Was that something that you knew going into cuddling? Like, oh, I need to have like spot on nails. Like, is that sort of like a cuddling life hack? Would you consider that like, oh, I get definitely like more clients because they know I got the dopest nails?
For me, yes. I don't think that's applicable to everyone. I don't,
Sure.
and it's certainly not applicable to every client. There's some folks who absolutely hate any kind of lighter sensation. They want much more firm. Like, their massages are great, compression is great, but as soon as you get too light on their skin, they're like, I hate it, get away. And so that wouldn't appeal to them, because everyone is so different, which is one of the best parts about this job. I see the vast differences of every walk of life. It's really cool.
You're between Los Angeles.
For me, it has become a signature. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah. So for you, it has become a signature, though.
The nails, they have. Yeah.
Cool. So do you put the nails in your profile? Like, that is not. I only visited the website just to make sure that I saw all of the cuddling professionals. I didn't read it completely, but I have it up here, and I don't see anything about nails.
No, I don't put it in my profile. On my socials, or when I chat with folks, it comes up, or when I make videos, you can see them, because I talk a lot with my hands.
Yeah.
And so that way it has become a little bit of a signature, and people will notice it. But no, I don't particularly advertise it, really.
I would, if I was a professional cuddler, I would also leave that as a surprise, because I don't know if people would be able to handle how cool it would be. Especially for me to be like, oh my God, that head scratch is going to be so good. Cool. Like as an aside to myself. That's incredible.
I did have someone, so a colleague of mine hired me to give them a session.
Oh.
And it was a really beautiful experience. And she, after the session, posted about my nails, because they were one of her favorite parts of the hour and a half we spent together. So,
oh my gosh, that makes total sense. So cuddlers hire other cuddlers, like therapists need therapists.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
Yes, I really recommend it. I've even done a little bit of advocacy about that. Of like, we need to experience what it is like to be in the client shoes, client
Yep.
role, it is a really vulnerable place to be. And for us to be the best practitioners, but also just to have the best like self-care, we really need to be receiving this kind of care a lot. So yes, getting cuddle therapy sessions is a part of, I would say, a really robust practice.
Do you recommend other practices with cuddling? Because I know that like when you think of therapy as like a practice, right? You think of cuddling therapy as a practice. It really goes in tandem with like, other, maybe not relaxation methods, but some, other things that are a constant and consistent practice. So is that something that you would recommend for people that want to either ask for a cuddle session? I can't believe I'm even saying that. Like, that's such a wild thing that you can do. You can just ask someone to cuddle you. But like, is that something like you would say, oh, in tandem with, or in, with therapy, maybe cuddle, like, because you need to process things in other ways. Like cuddling is just one part of the processing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So working in the industry, it's called a triadic model. So working with a client who has both a therapist and a cuddle therapist. Triadic models are brilliant and there's lots of precedent for them, and they can do some really powerful work. I also recommend that folks who are doing this professionally get multidisciplinarily trained.
Yeah.
So in addition to specific cuddle certifications, I also have training in what's called internal family systems, or IFS therapy, EFT, which is that tapping, if you've seen tapping a lot.
Yeah, classic.
Embodiment, visualization and meditations.
Yep.
So having a robust, like well-rounded skill set brings this work to better places for integration, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That makes total sense. I was trying to think, I had a question, but one that just shot into my head was, what's the profession like? Because, you hear about people leaving corporate jobs all the time, but is there a profession that people leave and come to? Like, have you seen, certified, quote unquote, like therapists go from doing in session 1 hour, sitting face to face, from that to cuddling? Do you see mostly like people like yourself who are in corporate jobs and it's like, I don't want to do this anymore? Like, is there like a set of people that it seems like enjoy cuddling more, that want to make this a profession?
I would say folks who are already in some sort of caregiving profession are really prone to this. So if someone is a massage therapist, I know quite a few people who are dually massage therapists and cuddle therapists, and they have a joint practice or a different practice. I know a lot of folks who do Reiki or energy work is also a thing that brings folks in. I have definitely experienced some of my colleagues coming from the world of psychotherapy and transitioning either full-time or part-time to cuddle therapy, not with the same clients, but with different clients, and having a split practice. So I would say the people who are most prone to it are folks who are already in other caregiving professions.
Right. So people that are already like cusping on cuddling. They're cuddling cuspers. They're like, yes. What would make this better if we were cuddling? And I bet I could do that really good. That's wow. That's amazing. All right. Well, I do have to ask, do you make mistakes on the job? Like, is that a thing that can happen in cuddling?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. What are those?
What's a good example? With my ADHD, there's been a time or two where like I ran late or messed up the links or something for a virtual session. And so I needed to do some apology and repair work there. But what I want to, human beings, we're all human beings. Of course. It's entirely possible and welcome to make a mistake in session. Actually, one of the beautiful things that we do, and part of the opening agreement, and this is a Cuddleist specific practice. Cuddleist is a specific certification program, but every single session we have an opening agreement, and part of that is practicing what it's like to recover from that or redirect when something doesn't quite feel right, or when there's been a little misstep, or like, I'm noticing that isn't really very comfortable. Can we shift or can we adjust? We practice those skills so that it becomes easeful, so that we're both allowed to be humans. We're both allowed to experiment, explore, look into trying something new, and it can be a welcome environment for that. And we are still going to be okay. One of the most powerful, deepening things that you can do for any kind of connection is a process in therapeutic models called rupture and repair. If you've never had a moment where someone was like, oops, and then had to fix it, then you never know whether or not the person you're in connection with can do that. Whether your relationship has resilience, whether this person, if anything were to ever go wrong, is just going to then be done.
Yeah.
Right. There is a different, deeper connection that comes from rupture and repair.
And that it's the classic process in therapy. We'll sit in it for a second. It's totally fine. What happens if that happens? Well, we had to actually take a break, but I do want to say before we go, I want a Cuddlist t-shirt. So I'm going to try to figure out how to get that before we end this conversation. So we'll be right back. Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. You're learning about cuddling with me. That's wild. This is such a fun episode. If you do like this episode, please let us know, rate and review it, spread the love, share with everyone that you know, send it to everyone. Please leave a rating and review it, and be honest. What do you think? How can we make this better? What do you think about the guests? Who should we interview? Let us know. And don't forget to check us out on Patreon. That's right, Patreon. If you want to join the community, it is available to you. You can become a Rascal. I can't believe that I'm saying that. We have a community. We're called the Rascals. I've been holding on to that community name forever. So please come hang out with us on Patreon. You get early access to episodes. You can get bonus episodes, including a whole other monthly show with me and my friends. It's amazing. A super cool Discord server. We have live streams and so much more. So I'll see you on Patreon. All right, back to the show. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking here with Keeley, a professional cuddler, one of the owners of the greatest t-shirts I've ever seen, which just says Cuddlists, which I want. So thank you for that. I want one from me and my wife, and now my little daughter, who's 10 months old, she's just going to say cuddler.
I love it. She's also amazing. Have ones that say emotional support human. So.
That's incredible. So we were just talking about what does remote cuddling mean? Because you are a virtual cuddler as well, right? So you there's an option for that. It's like, how do you cuddle someone if you're not IRL? Like, what is that?
Yeah. So we have to get a little creative, and we have to game our brain a little bit. So some of the techniques that are really easy to understand, guided meditations, those can be really good, really powerful. And it's helpful to have someone doing something that is specifically catered to you. And that falls in the realm of this kind of work. It pairs beautifully with it. We can do games practicing boundaries and consent and personal development. That's also wrapped up in the world of cuddling. It involves a lot of boundaries and consent work. So personal development on that. The touch part of it. Yep. That I know is the most curious, like cuddling virtually. So one good example that I always give is a game called Mirror Touch. And what would happen is I would instruct.
Should we play it right now? Yeah, let's try it. Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay, so first of all, are there kinds of touch that you like more than others? For instance, soft. We said you like nails.
Nails are good. Yeah, I don't have them, but I like nails. So we're about to do some mirror touch, everyone. So nails are good. Head, but I have these headphones on. Let's see. I don't know. I like just kind of like being like squished. I guess this is
awesome.
I'm so happy that this is this is going in the podcast, that I'm happy that people can learn that I like to be squished and cuddled.
Hey, it's really brave of you to share that, actually. Like,
thank you.
Separate from the it's awesome.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
fantastic.
That. That just felt so good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So mirror touch. Would you like to try it with me?
Let's try it.
Knowing a little bit more about you then it is going to be helpful. So
Okay.
the first thing that we do is take a nice big deep breath in low in your belly. Deep breath in when you're ready.
Breathe in.
Exhale slowly, just nice and slow. And sink into your seat a little bit more. See where your weight is being supported by the chair. Another deep breath in. Maybe feel where your arms on this exhale. Feel where your arms touch your sides or on the chair. Just kind of get awareness in your body.
So for anyone listening, I encourage you all to do this as well.
Yeah. You can let your breath return to normal. And my invitation for you, you're welcome to, with your eyes open or closed, whichever feels good.
Yeah.
You can have your right and left arm on your forearms crossed over your chest, like you're giving yourself a little hug.
Oh.
And I want you to imagine, just like you see me on the screen, that I am right there holding you.
I'm not going to cry. Shut up. I don't. Oh, it's so nice.
If it feels good, you can go into a deeper hug. See if you can cross your arms over each other.
Oh my gosh.
If it feels good, you can rock back and forth. That's what I would do if I was there.
This is crazy. I've never experienced something like this before, where you're just like cuddling and you're having someone on the other side of the screen like tell you that they're there too.
Now to end, I'm going to invite you to put your hands on either side of your face, just like as if a grandma was coming up to their little kid. Like, oh, I just love you so much. Oh, hold the preciousness there. And when you're ready, you can stop.
What if I don't want to stop?
Well, we do have a podcast, but
in
a session you wouldn't have to.
do. Well, that was incredible.
But in a
Thank
session,
you.
you wouldn't.
So you get to do that for like an hour? That's amazing.
Yeah, that's typically a section of it, right? But there are a couple of things that I've never done this in a podcast format. So I was actually a little wondering how it was going to go. I'm really glad that it touched on a couple of things. So can I meta point out some key things?
Yeah, please do. Absolutely.
The first, I would say 60 to 90 seconds of this activity are awkward.
Yeah.
Period. Always. They always are.
Yeah.
And that's actually okay. We noticed it in this with a lot of deflection with like giggling a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're not used to it. This is weird. Why are we doing this with a screen? Why am I touching myself this way? It's not, our bodies are not used to it.
Yep.
But after that 30 to 90 seconds of, oh, what am I even doing? Your body starts to be like, well, but I don't hate this. I'm not used to it, but it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And then your body settles into that. Yeah. And so what we're doing there is we're kind of tricking our brains, because you see the action happening. You see me do it on the screen. Yeah. You feel it on your body, even though you're doing it yourself. And your brain is like, it's a pattern recognition machine. It's like, oh, I know what's happening. I know what I'm supposed to do here. Yeah. And it makes that feel and sink into your body.
Well, even during when you were talking about it, and when I think there's something that has really come out of going virtual for pretty much everything, which is like this understanding of language that is needed in the moment, right? Like a lot of virtual yoga instructors or a lot of, virtual cuddlists, right? Like have this ability to sort of take you out of that awkward moment and bring you into just listen to your breathing. Like when you said, hold your hands over your face like your grandmother would, I was like, oh, I know what that is, right? Like you have such a wonderful ability to sort of like take self and just say, just enjoy something. Like this is what is needed right now. You need to cuddle yourself. And I remember, I don't know, I was transported to being with my grandma or being with my mom or, being held by my wife, like all these things that are so amazing and beautiful. And even now I feel myself like in a more relaxed state. So thank you. Like it's
You are so
absolutely
welcome.
incredible.
I want to honor also, it takes a lot of, whether it's a podcast or not, it takes a lot of bravery for every single one of my clients to even embark on anything that vulnerable.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is challenging and
Yep.
it feels really risky and it's major ROI, major return, you know. It can feel amazing once it's happened, but that first, the getting there is an act of courage. So thanks for being willing.
I brought, what's interesting is that like I brought a pillow to practice cuddling on, but through our conversations, I'm not sure if that's actually the best way to practice cuddling. Is practice cuddling on self better than practice cuddling on a pillow? Because you have so many plushy, beautiful things. You have a koala back there with rainbow ears. You have a panda with pink ears. You have a nice moon. Oh my God. And it sparkles when you move, just like the one on the other side of you. And like,
I have a dinosaur chicken nugget pillow.
is that a pterodactyl dinosaur chicken nugget?
Uh-huh.
Oh my
That's
God,
great.
that's incredible.
This is a gift from a client.
That's incredible.
It's delightful.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like here, like I know this is, you know, it's audio, but I have this big pillow,
For sure.
right? Very big squishy pillow that I was like, oh, I'm going to bring in a pillow and cuddle with Keeley. But through our session, like I just said, that's not the best way to cuddle or learn how to cuddle. So what we
can
just
be
did,
incorporated.
yeah,
But yeah, it's the thing that makes cuddling feel so good is the connection most of the time.
Gosh,
that's not universal, but that's the thing, the key. And so it's so interesting when people, one of the biggest things that I get asked to do, like demonstrate on social media, the thing I get asked all the time by folks is like, show me different cuddle positions.
yeah,
And it's very much, and I get it because you're trying to understand something through the lens of what you're used to in the world when you have no frame of reference for it, like what professional cuddling, what? And that makes total sense. So if you're learning a new skill like dancing, you would go and learn the steps, right? Like totally. But the thing about cuddling is that the thing that makes it feel so good is that you're connecting to your own body.
yep,
You're letting yourself feel the sensations in your skin of like relaxation. I can geek out on the neuroscience of it if you want, but and you're connecting with someone else.
yep, yeah.
So
I mean, and
that's the piece that's important.
Because you said earlier in this, you know, when we were talking, you said that anyone can go get a warm body pillow, right? And squeeze it real tight. But there's an innate...
And it can be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when my wife was pregnant, that body pillow, I loved it more than she did. Like it was incredible. Like we had a C pillow that she was using to lay on her side and everything. And she was like, I hate this thing. I can't do it. And then I would use it. I was like, this is perfect. Like I have someone hugging me all night and I can like, it's great. I love it. But the connection that you get
I sleep with one of those often.
There you go. Yeah. But the connection that you get, we had to give it away though, which was so sad. We had to give it back to the person that I was actually more sad about it than she was because she was like, we're finally done with this thing. And I was like, but can we keep it, please? But you know, it was one of those things where that still wasn't as good as being cuddled by someone I love or someone in general, right? Like, and I think that is such an important thing to take away from this. Like you can cuddle you can cuddle my stuffed animal Woofy that I've had since I was a year old. Like now he looks over my daughter's crib. Like it's a very cute thing. You can cuddle your stuffed animals all day, but being held by someone is so different. And even in these virtual sessions, like holding self, right? Like hugging, I don't know. It's just
while someone's there with you. Someone's there with you, seeing you, being present with you, sharing the experience with you. Even if it's not their hand on your cheek, both of our hands were on our cheek. We know we shared what that felt like in our bodies and in the experience.
Wow. That is absolutely amazing. I mean, I know that we just did a cuddle segment, but like, I mean, so are those like the biggest things that you would, I guess, tell people if they do want to try cuddling is like share the moment with someone. Don't just do it by yourself. Like there's no, does that, I mean, I guess that's a kind of a big takeaway that I'm having right now.
Yeah. And the thing I want to stress about that, because it's a really brilliant point that you bring up, is it's two things and they're in a specific order. The order matters. The first thing is the connection to self. Are you in your body?
Yeah.
Are you honoring what you actually like and don't like?
Yeah.
If you are staying in the same position while your arm is asleep, you're not honoring. It is okay to say, I need to adjust a little bit.
Right.
If someone's hair is in your face, you're not honoring you. You have to be present in your body to share that feeling in yourself with the other person. And then that's the second part. It's sharing it with the other person.
Yep. I mean, that's so difficult to do. I've been in therapy off and on since I was, a kid, but for real, every single week or every 2 weeks for the last, I would say 6 years, right? And I think going into something, I don't like yoga because I don't like sitting with self, right? I don't like yoga, or I don't like, it's really difficult in any practice, any self-awareness practice, especially if you come from a trauma background, to sit with self. And sharing that with someone is so unbelievably difficult. And once you realize that, oh, you need to name that and then work through it, you can do something like be in a cuddle session and actually sit with it. I mean, I don't think that 7 years ago, I would not have been able to do this with you. Truly. I would not have been able to just be even now, I was deflecting, I was doing all this stuff. I mean, obviously there's more to it. We're recording a podcast and you and I are talking to each other and all that stuff. But I still think that it took a lot of work to even be able to do that. And I do sort of want to stress, like you did too, how powerful and how aware you have to be and comfortable with yourself to do something like this. Ask someone to cuddle you. That's so much. That's so man, especially if you're not receiving that cuddling from relationships or whatever you're doing. If you're having a bad day at work, or if you saw a movie that spooked you out, I want to call a cuddler now because I don't like scary movies. They're spooky. But if I had someone to cuddle me afterwards, maybe that's actually better.
I love that.
Incredible.
And I want to affirm what you're saying. I hear you saying and honoring how difficult that being with self can be.
Yep.
And that's 1,000% true. And it's also not. It's both things.
Yeah.
Because it's our natural state. Think about a little kid. When a little kid is watching TV, where is their body? Like a toddler, they got one hand above their head. They're kind of halfway upside down, their legs going, shaking. They just have this they still have the language and the part of themselves that is just innate.
Yep.
That their body knows. Your body knows what it wants.
Yep.
And the stuff that has happened in our life kind of puts some layers that make that a little bit difficult, but it's always there. And so once we get practice at kind of parting those layers a little bit, it's always there. It's always going to be there. It's going to be there waiting for you.
I got to say that even at 10 months old, or almost 10 months old, my little daughter, when she cuddles, she just knows how to cuddle. And, it's just one of even when she was 3 weeks old, it was just oh, you're cuddling me right now. That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
That is truly.
Our bodies know.
Yeah. I mean,
our bodies just know. We just have to, the work is getting all the stuff out of the way.
Yeah. Peeling away those layers of not thinking. I mean, and I think really to wrap it all up, going back to what we were talking about before, but that safety that you create is so important and powerful. I just want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for creating safe spaces for people like me and so many others. It's absolutely incredible to have those connections. And I don't know. Thank you for being on this show. And
my heart is so full hearing that. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, yes. Well, I really do mean it. I mean, it's a very important thing that you're doing. Before you go, I do want to ask, what are you doing now? What would you like to talk about or have people find you? I know that you have KeeleyShoup.com, at anything else, like tell us about yourself.
Yeah. If anyone is curious about this work from either end of it, whether they're curious about becoming a client in my location or not, or if they're curious about doing this work, if it feels like something that they're called to, I invite anyone to reach out to me on all socials. I'm at Your Cuddle Therapist. And then email is my first and last name, KeeleyShoup at Gmail, or KeeleyShoup, KeeleyShoup.com for my website. In addition to having my private practice and seeing individual clients and doing group work, a big thing for me is advocacy for this work and how important it is and how profound it can be, how beautifully it works in tandem with therapists. You asked what I'm doing. Next week, I am flying to San Francisco to speak at a conference for therapists about touch professionals and about my profession and how it can couple really beautifully. It's called ASECT, so it's the American Association for Sex Educators, Clinicians, and Therapists. So
amazing. Well, that's also huge work. I mean, sex education is something that greatly needed in this country. Oh my gosh. So and that includes
the platonic realm of it too, right?
Yeah.
So there's both sides of the coin that you got to honor. And my work is on the one side. And the beautiful thing about it being in a platonic container is that so much of the skills that we do are in a little bit lower stakes environment, right? We're not having to bring sexuality into it, which raises the stakes a bit for a lot of people. Yeah. And so we're in a lower stakes environment, even with the emotional vulnerability. That's high stakes enough.
Yeah.
And it's all applicable. It's all applicable to affirming someone's sexuality. You can translate and transfer these skills. So it's really beautiful to couple in those spaces.
That is a part of this conversation that we did not even get to talk on. And I really...
There's too much. It's okay.
There's so much to talk about. But if you have, for anyone listening, if you have a job that we should try, please let us know. Go to eli30.com. Keeley, thank you so much. Any last words or tips that you want to give the audience?
Thank you so much for having me.
Any life hacks or anything that you want to share?
My tip or invitation, ask someone for something small this week that involves touch, whether it's holding a hand or giving a high five or a hug. I encourage everyone to ask someone in their life.
Oh my gosh, Keeley, you are such a bright and beautiful soul. Thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it, and we'll talk soon, okay? I am now so happy to say that I cuddle, and I can cuddle with myself, and I know how to cuddle a little bit better. Not as good as Keeley, obviously. Again, Keeley, thank you so much for coming on. Such a fantastic first guest. Oh my gosh. If you have a question for me or know somebody awesome that you'd love to be a guest, shoot us an email, eli30@human-content.com. And hey, listen, if you just want to chat, come hang out with me at sidneyraz on all socials, or kick it with our Human Content Podcast family on Instagram and TikTok at Human Content Pods. This is a new podcast, so we'd really appreciate you leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you subscribe and comment on your favorite podcasting app or on YouTube, we might give you a shout out. If you love my voice but yearn to see my wonderful, beautiful, handsome face, full video episodes are up every Thursday on YouTube at sidneyraz. Don't forget Patreon. Tons of cool perks like bonus episodes, hang out with the ELI30 member community called the Rascals. We have a great private Discord, and I'm active in it. I promise, it's me talking to you. Early ad-free episode access, interactive Q&A live stream events, and so much more. Patreon.com/ELI30 or go to eli30.com. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Sidney Raskind. Special thanks again to our amazing guest, Keeley Shoup. Our executive producers are Sidney Raskind, Aaron Rubin Corney, Rob Goldman, and Shanti Brooke. Our editor is Andrew Sims. Our engineer is Jason Portizo. And our music is by Omer Ben-Z. Our theme song is by Dr. Music. Explain Like I'm 30 is a Human Content production. Remember, hydration equals happiness.
Explain like I'm 30.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you like this podcast and you would like to see more, don't forget to click that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you get notified about all of the uploads. Leave a comment down below. Let us know who we should have on the show and let us know what you think. Don't forget, more episodes right over there. Click!